This is the speech I gave upon receiving the Lone Sailor Award in Washington, D.C. on September 22nd, 2011. In my family, the first one to go to sea was my grandpa on my mom's side, tough little Englishman from Liverpool named Frederick Simpson. As his first grandchild, I couldn't say grandpa. All that came out was Packa. Later, that was shortened to Pack, and that's how he was known to his family for the rest of his life. His dad was a blacksmith. They were a poor family. He had 11 siblings. At the age of 12, he would sit on the dock watching the clipper ships coming in and out, and he would dream of adventures in far-off lands. His wanderlust became too much, and he stowed away one misty morning. He was discovered too far out at sea to return, and so began an exciting chapter of his life that would take him 7 times around the world on a sailing ship. He loved to regale his family with tales of going around the Cape Horn in the summer, where he would fall asleep in the blazing noon sun and the rats would nibble on his toes. His favorite story was being ordered to furl the sails in a snowstorm. His knuckles frozen, unable to hold out, he fell toward certain death, only to be saved by a line dropped gently to the deck. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. I feel his spirit is here with me tonight as I celebrate in the company of fellow seafarers. He would have loved this. The name I answer to is Beau Bridges. My parents were reading Gone with the Wind and wanted to name me after a character named Beau, a baby in the novel. But there was a problem. I was born December 9th, 1941 in Los Angeles, 2 days after Pearl Harbor was bombed. The lights in the hospital were blacked out. They thought the Japanese were going to keep coming and bomb the city. Also, back in those days, they heavily sedated women preparing for childbirth, so my mom, Dorothy, was a bit groggy when a nurse came in and asked, "What would you like to name your child?" She replied, "Call him Beau." The nurse said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, there must be some confusion. You have a son, not a daughter." Not wanting to continue the conversation, my mother said, "Just call him Lloyd Vernet Bridges III, after his father, or the Turd, as Pack used to call me." I grew up in Mar Vista, a town near the sea in Southern California. The ocean was an important part of my world. My dad was also an actor, and he always loved the sea. And when his series Sea Hunt came into our lives, he enjoyed the celebrity attached to introducing the underwater world to so many people throughout the world. And during this time, he developed a relationship with the U.S. Coast Guard and participated in many events promoting their brand of military service. In appreciation of his interest, they gave him the honorary commission of Commodore. When President Kennedy ordered the blockade of Cuba in 1962, my father urged me to enlist. I was 17, and Dad thought if we were going to go to war, I should join the Coast Guard Reserves. And so I did, at age 18. My brother Jeff would follow me 8 years later. My boot camp was in Alameda, California, and my company was Lima 28. Right away, I learned some lessons that would serve me all my life. The importance of teamwork, the necessity of complete physical and mental preparation for the task ahead, and the importance of respect for your crew and for yourself. I've stayed in touch with a number of my mates from those early years. Coast Guard motto is always ready, and we were, but the conflict with Cuba never evolved into all-out war. I served my tour of duty in peacetime, completing my service just before the Vietnam War got underway. My uncle, Fred Simpson Jr., was a merchant marine during World War II and saw wartime action. He shared many of his experiences with me. I also had a number of friends who served in the military in the Vietnam War. Some of them gave their lives in service. I have a profound feeling of gratitude for those men and women who have served in wartime, and I also appreciate the strength and indomitable spirit of their families who stayed at home waiting for their loved ones to return, sometimes having to meet the challenge of ultimate loss or the challenges of rehabilitation after debilitating injury. I pray that these national heroes and their families are fully appreciated by their fellow Americans, and that we make sure that their service to protect and defend us is respected and does not go unrecognized. Returning war veterans need to feel the care and attention they deserve. We need to assure their good physical and mental health, to assist them in finding comfortable living accommodations for themselves and their families, and to help them find work in the civilian community, if that is what they desire. Recently, I was working in Wilmington, North Carolina, and met up with a group of veterans who served on the cargo ship USS Achenar, aka 53. Members of their group had served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. It was their 29th annual reunion, and they were there with their families. George Radicke was the only World War II vet. His landing craft was blown up at Omaha Beach. Floundering in the water with 4 other survivors, they were picked up by a bunch of limeys, as he called them. They dropped him off on the beach, but not before they gave George and his mates a few cans of beer, a big surprise since liquor was banned on the U.S. Navy ships. My grandpa would have enjoyed that story. I asked George why the Englishmen didn't take them back to the Achenar. He said their ship thought they had been lost in battle, so they went back to pick up another group of Marines to take to the beachhead. George finally made it back and completed his mission. Over the few days I spent with the veterans of the Mighty A, I came to appreciate their keen sense of family. They continued to enjoy the camaraderie and were still dedicated to the happiness and peace of mind of their crew and their families. It is an honor to be in your presence and to share this wonderful evening with you. I'd like to close with a favorite poem of my grandfather, Frederick Simpson. Longings. Once more to sail around the Horn and see again Diego Ramirez, to feel the breeze at break of dawn blowing from bergs that roll in choppy seas, to hear the call, all hands on deck, tumbling from bunks and fighting with the gale, the shrieking wind, thoughts of a wreck as high aloft we go to shorten sail. A wheel to steer her full and by with billowed sails just lifting at the clew. Watch suntanned sailors sway on high on royal yardarms up above the blue, knowing the joy of homeward bound, and watch the reeling knots that lead to home. Hear trade winds hum, a pleasant sound that drives our ship across the foam. When I put out across the bar, dear Lord, give me a breeze, a starry sky, a full-rigged ship to take me far away, with sails all set to full and by. Peace, Pack.